Hey, this is James Ortolani with Willflex Inks.
Tyler Dummett with Workhorse Products.
Dave with Dick Clark Associates. Alan Howe with Sadi Chem. You're listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted by Aaron Montgomery and Terry Combs.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show. It is Friday, August 24th, 2020, and I am Eric Campbell, sitting in for Terry Combs, and you can find me at ericcampbell.com.
And since we're not time traveling today, Eric, it's actually August 14th, but not to throw.
Oh, I could have sworn I read August 14th. Sorry, man.
No, you're all good, man. I was like, oh, wait a second. And I looked at my calendar. I'm like, did I type that in there wrong? So anyhow, my name's Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me over at oursuccessgroup.com. Today, we're going to be joined by Ashley, who is the CEO and founder of a company called the LimeLoop. And really excited about this conversation. We're going to talk about shipping that makes sense. I mean, just love the story. I've been trying to kind of take it all in, but I'm really excited to actually talk to her and get the scoop about what this is all about. To me, from what I'm seeing from the outside looking in, it's lots of different layers. Actually, it's a shipping solution that makes sense as far as the packaging material. But it looks like they're doing a whole bunch more too with logistics and other things. So I'm excited to get all the details about that. And I just think that, Eric, this is a cool topic in a cool time. Our world is shifting to more and more e-commerce, which means that the sea of cardboard is growing on a daily basis. And so we need real solutions, and we are excited to have somebody that's working on a real solution long before the rest of us were probably thinking about it. So,
well, I mean, I don't think there's anybody right now who says that we think that the way shipping is going right now is exactly how it should be going. So
correct.
I'm excited to hear new ideas, especially when we have so many things just going the way they have been.
For sure. All right. Well, we've got a bunch of regulators checking in already this morning. So good morning to Sandy and Cindy King and Brian. Thank you so much for joining us, Brian. And I'm assuming he's using gentleman loosely, Eric.
Well, he knows us. Yes,
he does know
Brian,
us,
CEO of Imbrilliance and creator. He knows me well enough to know whether or not I am a gentleman. I like to think I'm a good person, but I try.
Yes. Well, thank you for upping my game, is what I'm saying, Eric. So Richard and Joe and Valerie, we're excited for today's episode as well.
Agreed, Valerie.
And Chuck, good morning, and Todd.
Morning, Todd.
Michelle. So everybody checking in. Thank you guys so much for being here, joining us on the live version here over at facebook.com/2regularguys. Or Cindy's catching us over on the YouTube side of things. So if you just go to our website at 2regularguys.com, there's a button right at the top. And depending on what side of that button you click on, you can either get to YouTube or Facebook and catch the live action, so to speak.
And if you are wondering, folks, we do get your comments in from YouTube as well. So love to see you guys in here. Love to have you interact with us, because this is what we're doing. Absolutely. This is what we're here to do, is interact and get you that good information.
Exactly. So Justin and Rena and Marion, TGIF. So yes, it is Friday.
Once again, for all the entrepreneurs out there, it's Friday, one more day that is absolutely meaningless. You will be working tomorrow.
That's right. All right. Well, let's get to some news items here so we can get to Ashley. We've got a lot of ground to cover with Ashley. So here's what I've got. I know you've got a couple things as well.
Absolutely.
On the happening there. So Corel Trainer announces 2.0 learning while designing plugin. Imprinter's ability to learn CorelDRAW has been greatly improved. The 2.0 version of Corel Trainer uses Google search technology to find design answers, directing inquiries to video classes, worksheets, downloads, and articles. Corel Trainer's new 4-minute index allows members to learn mid-project with tailored short video walkthroughs. Industry-renowned A to Z course improves design skills with their step-by-step learning system, quality graphic education for imprint businesses. So expanding beginner to advanced classes can be accessed from inside your Corel with the new Corel Trainer 2.0. So if you want to check that out, just head over to coreltrainer.com and you can learn more and sign up for that. It's a great program. Clay and his crew over there, they're putting in a ton of effort and work into making sure that you have the most up to date, the most current, the most easy to access. Basically, just you're inside Corel going, what should I do next? You click on their plugin, and it helps you figure that out. So it's pretty cool.
Well, and honestly, what I'd say is having seen him educate in the booth and up in front of the stage that we've seen at trade shows,
sure.
I know that people really flock to his education, and I think that people are going to absolutely enjoy the new updates from him. He's always been trying to make that information more accessible, and I'm excited to see how that plays out. Lots of people are looking for software training, and we know he is real dedicated to his craft.
Yep. In fact, he's even giving it his thumbs up. It's pretty awesome.
Pretty awesome. I'm glad you like what you built, my friend.
Hey, you gotta have confidence in yourself first.
You got to believe in your own product, folks.
Yeah, I love it. It is pretty awesome, Clay. So nice job.
Totally good.
And then Gusta checking in. I always love, because again, I still have no idea if I'm saying his name right. Eric, you may be better at this than me.
And what I'm going to say is probably not, because as a medievalist, I'm a little out of date.
Okay, all right.
My language from the region is a little out of date.
All right. What about you, Eric? What news items came across your desk, so to speak?
News items, and I hate to say this is kind of the same thing where we've been looking at. It's at least a little new. Every time we get here, we start talking about show cancellations, and that's not exactly going to stop. But we did have at least some kind of new information about shows coming up, and that's NBM has announced their 2021 show dates. And actually, they are coming with new branding. They're now going to be Graphics Pro Expo. And here's the quote from them. With the unification of A&E, printware, and Sign Digital graphics magazines into the new Graphics Pro Super publication this May, we are thrilled to announce that the NBM show will enter the new year in 2021 as Graphics Pro Expo, or GPX. And it's kind of the natural evolution of the decades of combined market trade shows. And as we know with the NBM show, it has kind of that three market approach, that because as you've seen with the three magazines that are there, that's awards and engraving, that's printware, which is all about apparel decoration that we're all about, and sign digital graphics. As we've seen, every time you go to an NBM show, everyone sees a very expensive car rolling down an aisle as we're packing things in. If you've ever actually been at the trade show building up your booth, you know that you see cars rolling in. So the car wraps and all that are there too. So they're going to keep on doing that as they have been. So they've got Irving, Texas in May, Indianapolis in June, Meadowlands, New Jersey in July, Long Beach, August, Pittsburgh, September, and Charlotte in October. And so here's hoping that goes the way they like it to go. And I'd like to see how that turns out. I mean, people are already showing some differences in what they're expecting for next year. And actually, the other kind of side news item that came up with this is, if you haven't seen it, the ASI show came out with their final kind of cancellation for the end of this year, where they've decided, yes, we're not going to go through with the last show we still had on the books. And I haven't gotten a chance to see all of it, but Tim Andrews from over at ASI also did an announcement video where he kind of said what's going on with them and gave an update. So as we know, pretty much let's say if Terry Combs were here, his big book of travel has pretty well been wiped clean there.
It is fully erased. We can just stick a fork in 2020 at this point, and
pretty much.
I think it's interesting, Eric, because you also then got to start thinking about, what does early 2021 look like? I mean, I know we're still only in August, but fourth quarter is going to be here, and then so what does that mean? We're gonna keep bugging Josh over there at Impressions
for sure,
and see if we can figure. I mean, because I don't know how that affects ISS Long Beach, or sorry, Impressions Expo Long Beach.
And I'll say honestly, I've seen, and I have to say I don't remember where it came from, but I saw one of the shows saying they're already looking at postponing Q1. Yeah. So it's entirely possible Q1 is getting postponed. What I will say, though, is looking at everyone else's kind of work, and including the stuff from NBM, or as we go now, GPX, Graphics Pro Expo, they're talking about their breakaway sessions, which they've already been having those online sessions. Everyone is coming together with a virtual solution for this. And I was on a Twitter chat this week, Promo Chat, if you guys don't know, for Promo Kitchen. And part of that question was, how do we deal with virtual trade shows, and what do they do and getting the most out of them? The people who are in the front of this industry are already starting to look at what we can make out of a virtual trade show. Yeah. So here's hoping with all of us. I mean, OSG's doing it. There's lots of people putting out more and more education that's online, that's available to everybody. I think the world's getting used to that. Yeah.
I think that it's just going to be finding the right mix, because I do also know that, people are starting to get that I look at my calendar and I go, man, I can watch this training. There's this thing going on, for the podcast world, there was PodFest this week, and, there was 300 and some odd classes, and I had a whole bunch of them on my calendar, and I've seen 3 of them, and it's just like
Yeah.
a little bit overwhelmed. So it's finding that right balance, I think, is going to be important. And we are still humans, and we do still need that face-to-face interaction somehow. So we'll have to figure it out.
And I think the other thing is something we've been championing forever, which that you have to curate your education. Now more than ever, you have to select where you're getting your information from, because it's everywhere.
Yeah, totally. All right. Well, let's get to the part that we all know and love. And since Eric, you normally are in the background, you don't get to participate in the fun of dad jokes. You've got one for us here. Now, you mentioned it has to be read, so I will turn the floor over to you.
Okay, I can do the clicking too. I'm gonna put the page on screen for everybody, because, as you know, I can't just do a dad joke. I have to do a dad joke that is complicated and a pain. So that is just that's how I do. Language is what I like to do. So here we are. All right. So the dad joke for the day, folks. I can't decide if I want to pursue a career as a writer or a grifter. You want to know why?
Why? Why can't you decide?
I'm still weighing the pros and cons.
All right. Yes, very complicated. So those of you listening in on the podcast version, you will have to check out the video version over there.
One more reason, guys.
Yeah,
one more reason to be on the live video. Jump on YouTube, get on the recording, because come on, you got to love that.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Very good, Eric. Thank you very much, sir.
I'll send that one out to Lisa Shaw, who is a friend of the show, been on the show many times, and always coming with puns that make me cry every single day for what I have just done reading. I take it seriously a little too long every time.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, folks. With that, before we dive in, I want to thank everybody for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. If you are listening to the podcast version, we would appreciate you sharing with your friends so they become regulators too. Plus, we would love and appreciate you giving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to the show. And on top of that, we are always looking for new guests. If you or anyone you know would like to join us, go to calendly.com/2regularguys with your show ideas. If you're watching us live right now, please join in the comments and questions and reach out to your industry friends and tell them to join us too. Share this post right now. So I would love to have more people hearing about the great things that we're bringing in for you.
Yep, exactly. They don't want to miss out on what we're going to be talking about with Ashley here in just one moment. So, but before we do that, Eric, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Impressions Expo. And this is about what they've got coming up next year. We're going to get more information from them soon, but let's hear about what they're up to.
Absolutely.
What is Impressions Expo? Impressions Expo, formerly known as ISS, is the premier trade show dedicated to the imprinted and decorated apparel industry. They have 5 shows that are produced annually in each region of the United States, including Long Beach, California, Atlantic City, New Jersey, Orlando, Florida, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and cap off the year at Fort Worth, Texas. Each of those 5 annual shows also feature over 30 seminars and hands-on workshops in categories such as screen printing, embroidery, digitizing, digital decorating, and much, much more. Visit impressionsexpo.com for more details, and while there, use the promo code REGULARGUYSIE for a free Expo Pass. Again, make sure you visit impressionsexpo.com to get more details, and the Two Regular Guys look forward to seeing you there. I always get a chuckle out of that guy like Terry was talking about last week. I like you too, buddy. It's really awesome. All right, cool. Well, thanks again to Impressions. Make sure to check them out over at Impressions Expo and tell them we're thinking about them as they're, now they're starting to have to figure out how to navigate 2021 already. And it can't be easy for them. So like I said, buy them a virtual beer or something, would you?
Definitely be kind to the folks who are organizing our trade shows right now, folks.
Yeah. They're working hard for us and not getting much reward out of it at this point. So,
Absolutely.
All right, let's do this, Eric. You ready?
Absolutely. I cannot wait to bring on who we are welcoming to the show today. And this is Ashley Etling. Ashley is inspired by collaboration and discovery, driven by the confluence of design thinking, business, and technology. And this curiosity led her to founding and building multiple companies. Central to her vision is creating impact by building sustainable supply chains from product to door while building a culturally sound company. Her passion for building high integrity companies inspired her prior venture, Atelia, And we'll have to see how many of these names I butcher.
Yeah, that's okay.
So sorry, Ashley.
We'll get it from her.
We'll get it from her. A platform that collectively shares experiences and stories from entrepreneurs worldwide. Her unique background in design and business acumen helped her previous company, Red Clay, grow exponentially. As the head of product development, later as COO, her performance yielded results, including recruiting and retaining a team of 500 award-winning designers, raising millions of dollars in high-growth capital, 10x year-over-year revenue growth, and 10-plus Fortune 500 partnerships. When not contemplating a new idea, you can catch her testing recipes, working with other ambitious founders, and sharing her entrepreneurial knowledge with speaking roles at Launch Beacon, Metropolis, and SF Design Week. Ashley loves spending time outdoors with friends and family, hiking, skiing, biking, and today, chatting with us, the two regular guys. Welcome on, Ashley.
Good morning. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, Ashley.
Absolutely.
Let's dive right into this. I mentioned at the top of the show, where I've kind of been looking from the outside looking in. I'm very excited about this topic and about what you're doing. So let's start learning a little bit about LimeLoop here to kind of start things off. What does it do, and where might that fit for a garment decorator?
Sure. So the simplest vision is, you get all these packages that are stacking on your front door when you place an online order. And we're really replacing those with reusable shippers. But as we get into the depth of that to really make the full process work, we've added layers of technology to make that as easy as possible. Just because the shippers can be used over and over again, it allows for these kind of technology innovations to kind of really increase that experience at the home.
Nice. Yeah, I know for me, the sea of cardboard that comes through my house every week. My son and I actually have a thing that we do every week is take all the cardboard that we have, put it in the back of the car, and take it up to the recycle center. And we know that not all of that is actually getting recycled. So this is an important piece for sure.
Yeah, and it's one that isn't talked about as much, but I think what you're referring to is the sword policy was put into place in 2018. And that really prevented a lot of our recycling going abroad. So a lot of it went abroad to China, it was upcycled and then brought back over to the US. So recycling centers have really been scrambling to really understand what to do with it. And the most logical part, what to do with it, is just send to the landfill, unfortunately. So we really have hit this kind of collision, especially with COVID, of this increase of e-commerce and really trying to figure out what we do since we've been doing the same thing the last 50 years.
Yeah.
Certainly. And I mean, as it comes to these problems with packaging, I mean, talking about recycling and it maybe not being everything we thought it was, perhaps, at least not what everybody currently may think it is. What else were these problems with packaging that you saw? And what was kind of the tipping point in looking at the way we do packaging, the way we do shipping that drove you to start LimeLoop?
Yeah, I think, always looking at larger problems and seeing that, and then looking at data. So yeah, we can all see that these cardboard boxes are piling up in our neighbors' recycling and in the back of businesses. But when you really start to look at that data, it's grown exponentially in the last couple of months. But really, e-commerce is only 15% of retail. And so it seems like it's kind of taken over how we do business, but it's really just in the beginning. And if it's only at the beginning and we're just now seeing these problems, it will continue to increase. And I think that customer frustration will continue to boil. And then we'll also see, and we're already seeing it, retailers frustrated because costs are going to start to increase. And then costs also are starting to increase on the labor side and logistics in general.
Yeah. So within this, Ashley, I mean, we're looking at the problems that are here. I believe if I read this right, you guys started in approximately 2018. Does that sound about right?
We did. We started noodling on the idea late 2017, and then we really launched with our first partner. It's an apparel company called Toad & Co. out of Santa Barbara in April of 2018. We kind of thought we'd stay a little sleeper, test and learn the data and the logistics, and had a quick article by Fast Company, and really haven't looked up since.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that's actually where I first saw you, was that article in Fast Company. So it sounds like quite a whirlwind since then. But what's kind of been the evolution since then? What have you guys learned since 2018 then?
Yeah, so we've learned, in a couple of aspects. One, just the shippers themselves, logistics, and then where the data comes into play to really start to streamline that process and really start to add a new customer experience. But, on the shipper side, just some simple things we learned was, carriers love to mark all over boxes. Next time you see a box, you'll see all these like, markers everywhere. So kind of to the basic part, we were getting marks all over our shippers. So you can kind of see we did a cutout right here. So people could actually start to mark on the actual paper versus the shippers. So really basic things like that, all the way to better understanding, you know, where those true data value adds are within the full logistics system. And the two biggest things we have found is people ask, where is my package and why has it been damaged? So really adding technology and sensors to start to add visibility and security to that full supply chain so we can actually start to answer those questions.
Wow, that's really cool. I mean, I guess that's something that, I definitely would have not thought about. But when you've got a box that's just floating around out there, it's just floating around out there somewhere. You know, you hope somebody scanned it somewhere. But if you can actually embed some sensors or some technology, man, that does really. I mean, I know from my years of customer service, the number one question that you get is where's my package? You know, so you go somewhere.
Well, I think nobody, especially these days, is a stranger to wondering where their package is or having to deal with the ramifications of a package not exactly going the way they'd want to, whether it's damage or being lost. So what I'm very interested in how this data-driven kind of aspect goes on about this, because dealing with logistics, dealing with shipping, there's nothing but data that we can use to improve what's going on. I would love to know both a little bit more about kind of the data you collect and what a reusable package like yours does for logistics, does for the process of shipping.
Sure. So on the data side, one example that we really kicked it off with is just an open rate sensor. So really being able to understand when that package has been opened. And that helps in a couple of pieces. It really adds that visibility and security to the supply chain. So if we can start to see that, wow, lots of packages are being opened at the USPS Center in Chicago, and then we can start to provide predictive analytics to the brands, knowing, one, we're seeing a lot of theft here, or one, we're just starting to see a lot of damage. And then that second part is just trying to have a more personalized conversation with your customer. We now know that it actually has been open versus just sitting at the front door, and starting to add a little more light into that experience and bridging that gap of this really beautiful experience that we give our customer in that personal contact, and starting to really kind of provide that at the home.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds so cool. I mean, if you can know when the package is open, just think what the follow-up, the building of your raving fans can be there. You know, it's like, okay, you open it. What's the experience? How are you feeling about it? And really kind of get to that feeling level with them by having the data, right?
Exactly. And rather than saying, hey, how is it? And they're on vacation and they haven't actually opened it. And so it really does, start to give a little bit more visibility into that. And that's where we continue to look at the vision of the company from that experience side. And then on the logistics, it's just really giving all the simplicity to really make reusable thrive within a logistics system. So being able to connect into warehouse management systems to make label generation really easy, and being able to make that incoming and outgoing of those packages really easy within a fulfillment center.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure that Aaron feels like I do. Having done a lot of e-commerce myself and doing marketing, hearing the idea of having a physical open rate, everybody who's dealt with everyone who's done email marketing or anything else or any sort of social marketing knows about click rates and opens and what it means to your brand and what that timing means and dropping off. The idea of doing it with a package is mind blowing. Right now, I still can't. The fact that you said that is messing me up right now. I can almost not get on to another question. So these things, that is so incredible. And especially the idea of having the ability to shine light into the logistical chain is incredible. That's just really cool.
Yeah, and it seems really simple at the core, but when you really get into it, as we all know, there are a lot of details that happen. And I think, even with COVID, we've seen that with those gaps in supply chain really do make a critical impact on our just daily living and getting toilet paper and toothpaste.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's totally true. Real quick question, kind of an aside here, Ashley, is just one of our listeners, regular listeners, Gustav, he's from Sweden. Are you guys international at this point, or still really focused in the US, or how's that look for you guys right now?
Yeah, we always think, we have to simplify and focus. And so we definitely have simplified and tried to focus on the US. But with the environmental policies that are going into place abroad, we definitely gain a lot of outreach. And so we are working on those systems to expand abroad, not only for our domestic partners, but then also just to make it a global solution.
Yeah, that's great.
Very cool.
So speaking of your domestic partners, you already mentioned Toad and Company, and on your website, you've got some great case study information there. Talk to me a little bit more. Obviously, they see the vision, and then that's really cool. And so what I'd like to try to figure out is how can we, as a screen printer, as a sublimator, as a decorator, as somebody trying to add value to a product, how can we take this idea of rethinking our packaging and use it to our, I don't know, advantages? I'm not saying taking advantage of it, but yeah, how does that fit for somebody that maybe isn't a big fashion brand, but we're a decorator, we're adding value to something?
Yeah, so the Toad & Co is a great example for a direct-to-consumer, but we've also found like companies like Reformation and even dental companies who are using these internally just to ship even samples back and forth or tools. So there's this whole kind of internal network that happens as well that we found is a great fit. Like I just received some of our samples for some new shippers in a shipper today, and I still get excited. Like I can see the FedEx person driving up, and I'm like, yeah, that's ours.
Awesome.
So there is all these other ways. Anytime you think of what you're shipping, to be able to utilize reusable.
Nice. So I guess the other question I have along those lines is, obviously we're talking about all these cool and amazing things that we can do, and how this kind of changes the conversation and the thinking. Obviously, there's got to be some hurdles. What are the limitations? What are some of the things that you've got to overcome before you do get some more widespread adoption of this program?
Yeah, so there's two things we always look at and looked at from the beginning. One, this is consumer behavior change. And so with that, we came into it thinking, okay, we're going to have to calculate for pretty high shipper loss, but really have been delighted by how much and how engaged customers are by wanting to actually participate in this. One, the guilt is kind of relieved. And then two, it's just so much easier to just zip this up and leave it for USPS to pick it up. Versus having to break down a full cardboard and walk out to recycling. Yeah. And so we've seen that actually is less of a hurdle, but we know at scale we'll have to continue to make that an education process to be able to bring it to full adoption. And a second part we didn't think we were going to run into, but ran into quickly, is just warehouse management systems. There's so many of them, and they're all different levels of design 20 years ago to design a couple of years ago. And so being able to plug into those with integrations and APIs really starts to decrease that friction. But we're still in the early stages of that to be able to create that full network of integration within any 3PL so that they get excited about LimeLoop versus, oh man, here they come.
Yeah, you got a lot of work to do to get it up. So, at this point, you kind of almost are considering yourself a software company, it seems like, more so than anything, huh?
Definitely. We see ourselves as tech first, and we're just, entering into solving for data-driven sustainable logistics with the packaging and continue to evolve the company in a way of how we can continue to really refine e-commerce logistics.
Nice. Eric, I'm going to jump on you real quick because I do have one more question for Ashley, because I guess in all this excitement, I think I forgot to even ask you the simple part of, tell us a little bit about these shippers and what the heck they're made from. I was just going to
do that. I was like, I know this is super simple because we're getting into this cool stuff. I think about where we talk about like all the different products people are dealing with to do this integration warehouses, but then part of me is like, can I just get a tour of the shipper? Can we just look at it? I want to talk about the actual object and what sizes there are and what can we do with it.
So here's one, and it's an 8.5 by 11 shipper. So think of a really durable structured poly mailer in a way. Okay. And so the way that they work is they zip. Try to give a better demo for everyone listening. And then you can kind of open them up, and there are towels in there. But there's kind of a pocket in there to be able to put any kind of invoicing or marketing material. And the way that they're secured right now is they connect to a loop, which allows for a zip tie to actually connect and provide security for transportation, kind of the way that tape works today. Sure. And then in here is where the shipping label goes, and this kind of cutout we talked about, which really allows carriers to be able to mark onto those. Yeah. But we also have more actual sizes. So we start to get into some larger sizes, which is 15 by 12. So a lot of apparel companies use this to be able to actually ship more goods. And then we have larger ones that expand to a 15 by 24 by 2. And then we also are working on some customized ones as well for partners, to where you can start to add a colored zipper and have your logo on the interior of that. So it still protects that durability. And the material itself is actually upcycled billboard vinyl. So if you think about all those billboard ads you see driving down the highway, those are pulled down and they usually go to the landfill, but we're able to divert them and actually use them for the shippers. And if you think about all the wear and tear that those take being on the highways, it's a really great use case to really create that durability, but also be lightweight in the transportation of goods.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What would, let's say the 8.5 by 11 version there, what does it weigh by itself?
So this one weighs about 6 ounces.
Okay.
And then we're working on a new material, which are those samples I was talking about just came in, and we've been able to decrease that weight in half.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because obviously so cool. the magic number for a lot of, at least in my experience, has always been, trying to keep it under a pound, right?
Yeah. And then you have to factor in the objects that are going in there. So always keeping it lightweight for that return journey as well. Yeah.
As far as the, since we've got listeners as well as viewers here, as far as that material, what kind of, like, let's say I wanted to, I don't know, just crazy. One of the things that a lot of people I work with in the sublimation world, we're always trying to ship a coffee mug. You said you were working on some custom packaging. What does that process look like for you guys?
So we're looking at more rigid shippers. So think about kind of even a storage bin that kind of expands and then can contract down and go underneath your bed. So those are able to ship, protect the goods. But then once they're coming back, you can actually fold those down. So they work really well within the logistics system and really keep those costs down. But just some interim things with the shippers we're working on is you can do kind of modular inserts that are reusable to be able to ship cosmetics or body care really easily and safely.
Yeah. That's a great point, man. Every single word that's coming out here, Ashley, from you is like, same with Eric, we're like, oh my gosh, let's think about this. My wife's involved with a group called Crunchy, which is a toxin-free makeup and beauty program. And, they're always looking for new ways to package they don't use plastics. They use like a plant-based material for their packaging. So I love that all this stuff is getting steam, and hopefully everybody can kind of come together. So.
Well, I love that we talk about durability. I have to bring in a comment because these are just funny. This is something we always deal with. We talk about the sea of cardboard. The other thing is that cardboard's not always the best packaging material. We've had issues with this, and I'm going to agree with Cindy right here. As an apparel decorator, it would be nice to receive a package intact without tire marks on your white T-shirt. Yeah, we have had this problem many a time. I can't tell you how many times that the top and bottom T-shirt are now also lost to the bad packaging. That happens to us quite a bit. And but we do have a real question that is not just me commenting on cardboard boxes. Something from Gusta again. He says, does it go back after delivery? Is there a pickup of empty ones, or how does that work?
So currently, most of our businesses, they actually use USPS to pick up the shippers. So about 90% of America actually has a box, even if they know it or they don't. They can actually put that in that box, and USPS will pick it up. But we're working on other partnerships to where maybe you go into Starbucks or somewhere that's very convenient, and on your way in, you can drop off this shipper. They can be bulk collected and shift it to the closest place of need.
Yeah,
that's very cool.
Yeah, because I imagine you'll have to tackle some distribution logistics at a certain point. How's that look for you guys right now?
Yeah, some people, especially mentors early on, they said, "Why are you going into this business?" Like,
Yeah, yeah. There seems to be a lot of angles you got to think about here. So what are you guys distributing from one single location, or are you going to multiple locations? How does that look for
We're
you?
mostly using a network of fulfillment centers within our brands currently, to be able to distribute and to really leverage that. So we really stay focused on the technology, and then we let others who are really good at the logistics leverage what they currently have to distribute those.
Nice.
Well, and on top of it, now you have data, I'm sure. You have data on all those people to know who is a good distributor at this point. But no, I just love this idea, and I'm sure somebody has already asked, and I'm assuming since we're talking about these returning, could you tell us why LimeLoop, the name? I love hearing that from people who have started companies.
Well, at first we just wanted to make it fun because we knew that we had to bring the customers along on the journey. So getting everyone involved and had to be like a little more fun than just something a generic logistic company. And the idea of Lime is really, it has this really beautiful protective covering, which is where the shipper is. But then when you cut it in half, it has this circular element, which really leads to the loop aspect of it. And you keep getting more granular, you know that there's a lot more to it, which comes to us as the data and the logistics of actually using these shippers. It seems simple, but it's a little more complicated.
Yeah.
I know. I love that it's more friendly because we have this discussion. We're talking about business in general. Because aside from the product itself and what you're doing, I also just love you have this entrepreneurial bent, and that's what a lot of our people who listen are they're starting their own businesses. And what I love about it is that it has a fresh sound to it. It has a sound that is friendly and appealing. And all the time we have people where I've said this a million times. If you come to me with your screen printing company and your name includes graphics, design, screen, print, I'm like, please stop sounding like a bureau within some other person's company. It's like, I think that's really awesome that you guys did that. And also I love that loop aspect of something like this is continuous. It goes back and it's really cool. So I really just enjoy that. Thank you for sharing on that. And honestly, I think what we really want to know is, how do you feel like this is moving toward the future? I mean, we see definitely your vision's very clear, and honestly, I'm on board, which is, if not obvious already, because everything you said so far has me excited about the possibilities. But what do you see as the future of the company for you? Like, where is your focus? Where is your drive, kind of in the market we're in?
Yeah, so it was really, rooted from taking all these skills of learning and technology and really putting them towards good for the future. And knowing that not only will do good for the environment, but it'll also really help companies thrive and really continuing to save them on cost as e-commerce really starts to grow. And I think what really continues to excite me is showing that we can have sustainability and profitability. So it's like when I wake up and some days you don't want to get up, that's, really the drive of continuing to make this company a success.
Yeah, that's Ashley, can you talk to us a little bit about that? You mentioned the costs and stuff like that. That I think a lot of people might get stuck. We probably tend to oversimplify things a little bit, and we're sitting there going, okay, I can get this poly mailer, and it's 10, 15 cents, whatever the cost is. It's fairly nominal. How do you have to rethink your business in a sense to where this makes sense for you? Because I read in one of the case studies, I think it was Toad and Company had mentioned that they felt like they were going to have reduced cost with a certain number of mailers in their arsenal. How does that work? How do we rethink that and make that work for the accountant folks in the group, so to speak?
Yeah, we always say we want to make the head of sustainability, the CMO, and the CFO happy. So we're constantly always looking at how can you create that experience, but also how can you decrease costs. And so for SMB brands, small to medium, it really depends on what kind of shipper they're using. But for the most part, when you average that out, we usually save them about 40% on packaging costs, just because you can reuse these shippers over and over again. And then the variable kind of comes in is how many times can you reuse it per month. But for the most part, it usually ends up being a savings. But as we continue to grow with companies, we start to look at, well, how can we reduce labor costs by actually answering those questions automatically? Where is my package? First, the teams actually have to go track down USPS or FedEx and really find out where that package is. And then it's maybe lost, so filing a complaint, how do you get back that money? So it takes a lot of time on the back end. So constantly looking at then, how can we also increase that customer LTV? So it's a lot easier to retain your customers versus actually acquire a new one. So really going back to those kind of data of the open rate and how we actually have that better communication with our customers down the road.
Yeah, yeah, that's
awesome.
great. That's fantastic. All right. Well, regulators out there, if you guys have any questions for Ashley, please let us know. This is a great opportunity for us to ask some really great questions and get some really good information. Before we get to those, though, Ashley, I did a little digging, and I want to hear a little bit about rock climbing, competitive rock climbing. We've got a little bit of time, so talk to us about your past life as a competitive rock climber.
Sure. So I've always been into starting businesses. I think it's been a thing from the beginning of problem solving, and that's where a love for rock climbing came. It's a really problem solving perspective, but couldn't just stay there. So some friends, I went over to their basement one night in high school, and they had a rock climbing wall in their basement, and that turned into, well, how could we make these and how could we sell them? So I remember in college walking into the house, and the whole kitchen was covered in molds of how to make, making rock climbing holds. And then climbers were on the bottom of the floor sleeping because they were going to go climbing near our house the next day. And at one point there was an order placed for 20,000 units from Japan. And we thought they put a couple extra too many zeros. And so really just, not only was competitive rock climbing, but really, watching and being a part of this company grow that really escalated my love for entrepreneurship and design and logistics and kind of product in general. And if you really put your mind to it, you could really build a manufacturing studio overnight and really bring it to life.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So you brought both of those things together into this love of entrepreneurship, and now we've got LimeLoop. That is a pretty cool thing to have. So, Ashley, I guess another question I've got for you. Let's step away from the shipping side of things here for just a moment. And obviously, you talked about entrepreneurship and the speaking and things that you do in that realm. We've got a lot of folks that listen here that are relatively new entrepreneurs at times, and we've got people that are been around for a lot longer. But we're definitely, let's start out of our basement, out of the kitchen, like you mentioned there. What's the number one piece of advice that you like to give new entrepreneurs?
Well, I think what I was going to before is just there's so many opportunities when you're working on a new idea. So really simplifying and focusing on that core value to really know that if you can solve that, then you can continue to build on the foundation of it. But with that and building, like we always know we can have ideas, but to really bring an idea to life, there's a lot of perseverance. So I had someone once tell me 100 no's equals 1 yes. And sometimes 1,000 no's equals 1 yes.
Yeah.
So just continue to go after it. If you really believe in it and you truly see it as a solution, then it will happen. And don't be afraid to ask for help along the way.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point.
Awesome. I also like to say you've got this focus on design thinking. How do you feel that design thinking informs entrepreneurship, and what do you think that importance is, kind of that nexus between how we approach problems and what does that mean for someone who's trying to start something new?
Yeah, it's that mentality of never stop innovating. So never stop testing, learning, and then applying what you learned. And then you'll continue to get more to that simplification and focus. And then really bringing in smart people to collaborate when you get stuck on, well, wait, I just learned something and now it's not working. So how do I reapply that and keep growing? And I think that constant love for solving problems is where we've seen some of the greatest companies come through in our country.
That's awesome. And also, I would like to say briefly, I wanted to hear just a little bit about back to the packaging, because I can't let go of the packaging right now. I hate to say that. We're seeing so many people who are looking to try and kind of provide an experience at home that is interesting, that is new. And what I keep seeing is people doing things like they're printing on boxes. You said there's more branding going on. Can you tell us just a little bit more about the branded version of the packaging that you're working toward?
Sure. So in our boat, we get really excited, think that the experience is in the reusable, but of course there's still brands who just love to see their logo or their brand on the shippers. So the way that we think about that is, one, how can we really continue to maintain the longevity of the shippers, but still add those branded elements? So some of the things that we're thinking through is just even the simplification of, you not only have kind of one of these labels, but you have another label
Yeah.
so you can actually slip something in there like this that actually gives that branded feel when it hits the customer's door. But some other pieces are actual colored zipper. So if you're, lime green and you want to have a lime green zipper, and then that customer opens that package, and there can be some actual printed writing on there or an actual logo. So starting to give elements of it, but still make sure that we actually make sure that the shippers can last that 200 times.
See, I think that's got to be the hardest part, and we all know that, honestly, as printers, decorators, embroiderers like myself. We kind of all know that longevity, that ability to handle wear and tear, is a really important thing. We actually have a comment from one of our listeners and watchers here, Brian Bailey, creator of Brilliant Software. Considering the number of traditional packages of boxes that will still be used, it would seem the LimeLoop's product line ought to include offering sensors and services as well. While the packaging might be a focus on passion, technology could help a lot of shippers, and that might be immediately scalable. Is there any sort of idea of adding that to traditional shipping, or is it really a package with the packaging?
Yeah, we really see being able to apply it to any kind of reusable or refillable. There's some great companies who are popping up from that perspective. So being able to track those refillables, or as we even get into resale and B2B, really understand where those are, and even understanding from the point of origin, so where it's coming abroad, so we can actually predict inventory a lot better.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else, Aaron? I feel
No,
like
I
you're
just
chewing on something still.
Again, yeah, totally chewing on stuff. My wife's got a business called WeHeart.biz, and so just thinking about, like you said, you're talking about the colors and doing all these things. I mean, it does become a whole different world as more and more people get to e-commerce, as more and more businesses are trying to separate themselves. My wife always talks about trying to create that concert experience, and this gives you that, because you do a lot of things. You check a lot of boxes here. We talked to on my Small Business Saturdays program that I do. My wife and I actually interviewed our 9-year-old son about his thoughts on sustainability, because we're giving him the world. What are we leaving for him? And what does he know? And what do we need to teach him? And so, yeah, we could go on forever. Ashley, what did we miss? What have we not covered?
Well, I think that's actually a good point that you bring up, because many retailers and anyone who's doing research on the next generation is that, luckily for all of us, they are very conscious of the environment and how companies are really approaching the social aspect as well. So I think it's a great push for companies to really start to move in this direction on so many aspects, to really start to bring forth that sustainability and profitability.
Yeah.
Rare is the solution that we see where there is attention to kind of all these three things: having the sustainability that's important, on a purpose level, you have the logistics and data, which makes sense for both marketing and literally just moving the package around, and then this experience level. So that's really cool. And I love that concept of that all coming together, especially with talking about the next generation, talking about a market that is increasingly knowledgeable about this stuff. So that's really awesome.
Yeah.
What I think everybody is also waiting for is the question that we kind of have to finish with. Where can people find more information and find out what steps that they can take if they're interested in implementing LimeLoop?
Yeah, so you can find us at thelimeloop.com. And of course, just feel free to reach out or direct message us on Instagram. We're at the LimeLoop, on Twitter and Facebook as well. And always happy to chat and just answer any questions and provide info where needed.
Awesome. So once we hit the limeloop.com, Ashley, is just, how do we get started? What does that process look like? Let's say I'm ready to jump on board and I want to be shipping with LimeLoop products. How does that work?
Sure. So you can hit subscribe in the pricing. So the way that the model works is you actually subscribe to LimeLoop and you receive those shippers based on how many you need per month. You have full access to the platform, and then we cover up to 10% shipper loss. And so with that, you're also welcome to go to our contact form and just reach out, and we can kind of walk you through the process.
Wow, that's cool.
That's
So
awesome.
10% product, that's awesome. I think that would probably, just me being who I am, that would be the thing I'd be most worried about, is how do I get these back and make sure that I'm getting them back. So obviously the logistics is a big part of that too. Cool. All right, Ashley. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you sharing all this, and we really appreciate what you're doing with LimeLoop and the company, and thinking about sustainability for us. So we will look forward to, as you have new things, we would really appreciate if you'd reach out, and we'd love to have you back.
Yeah, I'd love that. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for being on. All right. Wow.
Cool.
There's
Yeah.
so much there.
Eric, you just gotta.
Yeah, there is still a big part of my brain that is back on. We can tell when you've opened the package. Look, I'm still there right now. There's that, but on top of everything else, I'm still like, wow, having some data, some actual data on physical packages.
Yeah.
Haven't we all wish we had that?
The marketing brain definitely turns on right there, where you're going, okay, I can do this, I can do this. And then I put this into an automation system, and pretty cool to think about. But I mean, just going back to the basics of it, though. I mean,
for sure,
the fact that she's talking about the vinyl coming off of a billboard. I mean,
sure,
I would have never thought of that, but it makes perfect sense. I mean, think about all the wear and tear that takes, and then if that stuff ends up in the landfill and it's that permanent up on the billboard, think about how long it takes to break down in a landfill. So why not put it to use, in this fashion? I do really think that.
Well, I think that's the thing. We talk about recycling sometimes, and it's actually something we've dealt with. If you talk to another friend of the show, Marshall Atkinson, we have this discussion a lot with embroidery stabilizers. What they always say is you can't unbake the cookie on some of this stuff, and so reuse is kind of the only option. I don't know if that's true of the billboard material, but it's like reuse takes something immediate that can be used in its current form, and I think that's really cool because that's less energy being put into breaking it back down. So it's interesting to know that's what it was.
Yeah.
And
sure.
and hey, I agree with what we've seen from our comments. Like, yeah, pretty frequently you get a package that's torn open or has been literally run over. It'd be nice to have material that would hold up to that, since usually the shirt would survive if it didn't get opened.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Todd says here, quote from the customer, I didn't read my package. And then you can say, well, according to the sensor, someone opened it in your pantry at 9:47 a.m. So,
I don't think it's before somebody gets New World Order on this, guys. I don't know that we're tracking like direct locations to your house and telling you which room you're in.
I mean, I can think about, like I said, in my customer service career or dealing with something. I mean, I've had conversations with FedEx at like the FedEx location, the manager on site, and this was back, this is a $20,000 piece of equipment.
Sure.
And they're going, I have no clue where it is. It's like, this is a $20,000 piece of equipment that's big as a room, and you have no clue where it is. That can't be right.
Well, and honestly, we all know that it doesn't take a $20,000 piece of equipment. If you've ever done direct to consumer work, that one shirt, we all make things where we like to preach to each other about the fact that the experience of the garment is like, okay, we've got this event and we want somebody to see this beautiful shirt, and it's got to get there on time. Part of that is what we said. It's all logistics up until that point. Until they open it and they have it on time and undamaged, there's really nothing you have given them. There's no experience to be had. We can work on our craft and our quality as much as we want to, but until this thing gets there, that's a thing. Plus, it only takes one $20 customized shirt to make one customer very upset if it means the world to their event. Correct. I mean, that's all it takes. It only takes one critical person they wanted to have that piece of merch for it to be a problem. So it's worth thinking about. It's not something we haven't dealt with. And especially when we're talking about the idea of customers self-serving on some of that data too. Anybody who's worked in software, as I currently do, knows that reducing support costs is a big part of this thing too. You forget the time you spend on this stuff. So being able to have data at hand is a pretty big deal.
Yeah. And Ashley brought that up, that you can, there's another cost reduction area that, maybe you're not thinking about. So,
yeah, no, totally.
Obviously with the range of folks that we've got here, it can, but you got to think about this stuff, and even if it doesn't fit, you got to think about it. So that's why I love having people like Ashley join us on Two Regular Guys, because we have an opportunity to have that conversation and hopefully get people thinking about it. So, all right, let's see here. We could catch one more from Brian here. Do we need?
Yeah, let me go ahead and bring that up. And this is absolutely true. I deal with the Amazon channel for our company. Our Amazon store only has a handful of returns, but as Eric can attest, and yes, I can, one of the significant parts of that is delivery issues. It's a real, let's just call it a pain.
PITA.
PITA. It's a real PITA. Anything that help that would be of interest to lots of folks. You know what? I can't argue on that because that's one of the things that we've found, especially in the current climate, is that more of our returns are coming from people unhappy with delivery speed. And we're talking about items that are not critical. We're not talking about critical items. People are just there. An expectation has been set about how delivery is going to occur and the status something will have when it gets there, how it's going to look, what it's going to be like when it's going to get there. And if you can't deliver on those promises, the promise being broken is what causes the return, not that your product was bad. I mean, that happens really frequently. So this is more important. It's like we talk about with, and this is something actually, since Terry Combs isn't here, he always likes to talk about finishing. And I agree with him that the finishing department's important because that first experience somebody has when they pick up a shirt is the first experience they have as branding with you. Well, I'm going to say that if you're in e-commerce, the first experience they have with you in a brand is your package arriving on time and being in good condition. And even though it's the delivery person's, we talk about the logistics of it, even though it's the last mile that controls a lot of that, if you had any more control, any more data, wouldn't you want it? Yeah. I mean, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, if it makes it, I mean, I think all those things are extremely valid points. So let's see here. We got a couple more comments before we get into,
why not?
Let's hit Cindy's here.
Sure.
I had a vendor that used to weigh the boxes. So if once in a while it was missing a pair of socks or a belt, they would say it's all in there. We weighed the box. So frustrating. Yep.
Yeah, that's one of those things I've always told people. Hey, don't fight with your clients about this stuff. There's certain things where I'm like, if somebody's consistently reporting shortages that aren't there, that's one thing. But counts are important. You don't just dump everything in waste.
Nice. All right. Clay, I see your comment there. I've got that on the agenda for next Friday, but there is going to be a trade show happening, a small one up in the Green Bay area. So check that out. Yay, Wisconsin. All right.
Showcase. Okay.
All right. All right, cool. Eric, what do you got coming up here, sir?
Yeah, let's go ahead and close this out. What I have today is my show, The Take Up. So once again, at 2:30 Mountain Time. And by the way, guys, if you're on Facebook or if you're on YouTube, you can set a reminder. You don't have to remember these time zones. We make jokes about the time zone all the time, but instead, just go to the channels and set yourself a reminder to get there.
Or
it's in
everybody
your
go off Central Time, and it's so much easier for me.
See, every time we got to fight about this. But yeah, my time is at 2:30 p.m., but at your time, it may be somewhere else. Get on Facebook, get on YouTube, and you get it. But today, it's going to be all about single color design. It's going to be what can we do in a single thread color as embroiderers to make an interesting design, and what does digitizing single color designs do for our education on the different kinds of topics we usually cover, like pathing, which is a digitizing topic you may not know, but pathing, the order in which we run things, and things like density and texture, and what can we control, what can we do to make a design cool, what can it also teach us about digitizing that expands to more complicated designs. So all about style and single color. I would love to have you guys join me at facebook.com/eric.campbell or youtube.com/Eric Campbell. This is simulcast, so if you prefer YouTube, go join the people on YouTube and jump in there. But usually a lot of people there are on Facebook, but I do see the comments everywhere. Facebook is going to be the more lively comment section for you guys to scroll, but YouTube is also a nice choice. The other thing I have going on is what I have had going on for a while, but people are still watching, still talking about it. Demystifying Next Level Digitizing webinar that I did live is in a recorded form. So better running, bolder, more beautiful embroidery, the faster cycle from concept to completion. You can get access to that at bit.ly/EricDD. So right. Still doing that, and glad to have everybody show up. And by the way, if you have done that, ask questions, contact me. I would love to talk to you folks who are going through the webinar.
Nice. And reminder, Eric with an H.
Yes.
We won't do it. Let's just not do it. Terry's not here. We're not gonna go into the
come on, I'll do it.
No. Okay, go ahead.
Because I'm here on behalf of Terry Combs, I will call myself E-Rich on his behalf. But here, because of that, I get an extra plug. bit.ly/EricDD. There you go.
Yeah. E-Rich is his rapper name. All right, good. I got it out of our system. Speaking of Terry, you can see all of his updated information or lack thereof over at terrycombs.com under tour dates. The information is updated. It just looks a little barren right now. So he's keeping that up to date. If you go to terrycombs.com under tour dates. And then also Cindy's comment here. Thanks for a great show. Happy Friday. I'm with Aaron, Central Time, the best. There we go.
Oh, for crying out loud. Cindy. Throwing us all under the bus the other times.
All right. For me, Eric, I've got Small Business Saturdays happening Saturday mornings, and that's happening tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Central Time over at, and you can find that on Facebook at facebook.com/OurSuccessGroupPro, or you can go to liveosg.com to catch the YouTube side of things. But tomorrow I'm actually going to be joined by Nathan Lieber, who's been a guest here on Two Regular Guys. And we're going to be talking about bookkeeping and some accounting stuff. Now, neither of us are accountants, and so we will not be giving actual accounting advice. We will refer you back to your accounting professionals. But Nathan and I wanted to talk about just kind of some real world stuff. How does he do it? How does he manage that part of his business? And what does he do to keep his books straight? How does he deal with taxes? You know, what mistakes has he made? What has he learned? All that kind of stuff. So, and knowing Nathan, he and I will get into lots of other great conversations and topics just about small business. He's as passionate about small business as I am. And so I'm looking forward to talking to him tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. on Small Business Saturdays. And then just one more reminder on the Our Success Group, the membership is available. The pricing's as low as it's going to be. In fact, Todd and I have been discussing kind of where we're heading next. And that's going to be happening sooner rather than later. So if you want to become a member and get all the great training, including the training we've already done, and then all of the live training coming up, lock in that membership price now. Once you get your price, it stays that way. So even when we raise the prices, you're still paying what you signed up at. And so we're excited. The next upcoming training is next Wednesday, and we're going to have our first guest trainer in. Jay Bassell is going to be joining us to give us the keys to branding beyond the logo. Yeah, I'm really excited to have Jay in, which to me also is the perfect setup, because right after that, starting every Wednesday in September, we'll get into our last 5 keys series of the year. And this is going to be about marketing. So once we Jay's going to give us all we need to make sure that our brand's tight and ready to go. And then we're going to jump into marketing. It's a 5-week program touching on YouTube, Facebook, AdWords, email, and Instagram. And throughout those 5 keys, we're going to tie together a 12-week plan that you can put into place starting in October, taking you all the way to the week of the holiday. And cool. So I think I'm really excited about this, and it's only for members. So make sure that you sign up over at OurSuccessGroup.com.
That's huge. I know personally, whenever we talk about content creation, about marketing, everybody says, oh yeah, well, they want to talk about channels. They want to talk about that. And admittedly, there's a lot in the plumbing that has to get done for marketing, but it's the ideas, it's the schedule that's the hardest thing. A lot of our people are really great at execution and just are not sure what to do with ideas. So that idea of a plan that's going to be week by week or what have you, that's really pretty cool.
Yeah. And you know, here's the deal. I think across the board for all of us, this is going to be a different holiday season than any of us have ever experienced. I mean, there's just no chance that it can't be, you know, with still having, you know, some dealings with COVID, an election cycle, shipping issues,
a lot.
There's a lot to take in. So having a good plan and having a good, you know, community to bounce things off of, pivot quickly, get ideas. I'm super excited for myself, you know, just sure. Because to be a part of Our Success Group community it makes me a better person every day. So
what do I tell? It's what we always say, and I know you said to me before too, that the whole old adage about you're an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Yep. Like who you surround yourself with really does affect your mindset. So being around some people who really want to make things happen is very good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been fun. It's been a fun ride. And so we're looking forward to.
Very cool.
You know, there'll be other trainings after that, but that kind of gets us into that closing out 2020, and you know we're gonna thrive instead of instead of worrying about everything else. We're going to thrive, and I'm excited about that. So, all right, Eric. I think we've done it. Oh, perfect. Timing is good. So appreciate everybody joining us, tuning in. It's been a great show, Eric. Thank you so much for sitting in. I want to thank Ashley Etling for her time today and all the great information, and for what she's doing with LimeLoop. Again, please make sure you go check that out over at thelimeloop.com. Again, that's thelimeloop.com. Try it out. I can't see the harm in at least giving it a shot and seeing if it's something that's going to work for your company. I know for me, it's something that's on the list to like kind of figure out where does that fit with my wife's business or whatnot. So,
the concept alone is very interesting. And honestly, all of us should be open to those kind of new concepts just to see what there is. So yeah, check out thelimeloop.com for sure. Also, I want to make sure that we thank our sponsor, Impressions Expo. And as per the usual, folks, if you find people out there from Impressions Expo, and also from people who aren't our sponsors, who are in the trade show world, give them a little high five, little pat on the back virtually, and let them know that we're thinking about them and take care of that. But definitely check out what's going on at the Impressions Expo coming up in Q1, because we all know we still need to get educated. Those of us who are grinding and doing our thing are still going to want to learn and grow and be part of the loop with our suppliers. So check out what's going on with the Impressions Expo, and thanks again for them sponsoring us.
Yeah, appreciate that for sure. In fact, you mentioned the other shows we're also working to get the folks. In fact, I think it'll be next week. The folks from NBM Graphics Pro Expo will be joining us to kind of give us a little update. We also have Scott Ritter going to be joining us soon to give us an update on DAX. I know we've talked to Josh, and we're going to have Josh back. So yeah, keep that rolling, keep that going. And then speaking of folks that were in the trade show business, or Marcia Derryberry will be joining us along with Eric and Marcia's now working with a company called Action Engineering. If you're not familiar with them, you got to check them out. And we're gonna talk to them about what's going on. They've been working real hard in the face mask arena as far as making products that allow for decorating of face covers, face masks, whatever you want to call them, dust covers. I see all sorts of different things, and I don't know the exact right term. Obviously, medical grade or not, that's the real distinction. So
yeah, for sure.
But we're going to talk to them. And I heard a rumor, and I don't know for sure, but this may be one worth checking out the live version, because I heard a rumor there may be some actual live printing going on. I don't know for sure, so no promises. But
we all know everybody likes a demo.
yeah, for sure. So we'll see how that goes, and looking forward to having that happen next week.
Sounds like a great one. Well, with that, let's go ahead and close up the show, folks. Thank you all for being here. And until then, I'm Eric Campbell, sitting in for Terry Combs, and he's Aaron Montgomery.
And we are the Two Regular Guys.
Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/tworegularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/tworegularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.